What if I told you that Five Nights at Freddy's is more than just a fictional game? What if this horror story has some eerie similarities to real-life events? Are these just inspirations, or are they a reflection of real-life nightmares? Join us today as we uncover the shocking truth behind the stories of Five Nights at Freddy's. Make sure you stick around and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, or else Freddy himself will haunt your dreams. Animatronics have been around way longer than you probably think. They go all the way back in the 1960s when Disney started making these mechanical puppets who can move on their own to be a part of their attractions. What started off as a simple animatronics of birds then turned into human-like versions of certain animals. They're supposed to mimic the qualities of humans, but they look so different. It's like they're both familiar and unsettling at the same time. So it's no surprise that these animatronics would take center stage in a horror franchise. Five Nights at Freddy's is a massively popular series of horror video games that has taken the world by storm since its release back in 2014. The creepy premise of having to be a security guard surviving a night at a family-friendly restaurant while murderous animatronics stalk you proved to be a massive hit. What makes this even more intriguing is the fact that establishments like this actually exist in real life. Let's start with the most obvious inspiration, Chuck E. Cheese's. Take one look at Chuck E. Cheese's and you can see all the similarities with Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. The family-friendly vibe, the pizza, the arcade, their own setup of performing animatronics, and even the way the tables are set up. Skeptics will always say that something like Five Nights at Freddy's couldn't possibly happen in real life. But what if I told you that something just as sinister actually happened at Chuck E. Cheese's? Back on December 14, 1993, at a Chuck E. Cheese's in Aurora, Colorado, a man named Nathan Dunlap shot and killed 4 employees just around the time the restaurant was about to close. He wanted revenge for being fired 5 months prior to the night of the shooting, and even told a former co-worker how he planned to get even about the termination. He was caught later on and sentenced to death by lethal injection. However, a recent turn of events had the death penalty abolished in Colorado, and Dunlap now had to serve life in prison instead. He had a history of mental illness, which led to him having murderous tendencies. Most disturbing of all, he seemingly showed no remorse when interviewed by a licensed psychiatrist about how he felt killing the other employees. Some fans even managed to find connections between the victims and the animatronic antagonists in the first Five Nights at Freddy's game. Take Bonnie, for example. Bonnie is the only animatronic who appears in the supply closet. One of the victims, Benjamin Grant, was vacuuming when he was shot. Some fans have connected this as the inspiration for Bonnie, since you keep cleaning supplies in the supply closet. Bonnie could be drawn to this area because of this connection. Another nod to the events present in the game is the fact that Freddy hides in the women's restroom after passing through the dining area. In Dunlap's case, he hid in the restaurant's restroom before he started committing the crime. Now, if you remotely believe in anything paranormal, it's hard not to associate an incident like this to videos of certain animatronics moving on their own in the wee hours of the night. Another interesting incident that bears striking parallels with the events of Five Nights at Freddy's is the Showbiz Pizza Place fire in Hampton, Virginia, back in 1982. A maintenance worker accidentally caused a fire while cleaning a grease filter in the kitchen. The restaurant was filled with customers at the time, with many of them being families with young children. The fire was so intense that it melted the restaurant's roof, and the thick smoke made it difficult for firefighters to enter the building. This deadly fire caused the death of 15 people, with 9 victims being small children. It's important to note that Showbiz Pizza had their own set of performing animatronics called the Rock of Fire Explosion, who also share a resemblance with some of the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's. While we couldn't find any photos of the tragic event, we could only assume that the animatronics looked like this in the aftermath. This whole incident could also have inspired the storyline of Five Nights at Freddy's sister location, in which a reported gas leak caused the grand reopening of Circus Baby's Pizza World to be cancelled. It is also worth noting that somewhere down the line, Showbiz Pizza merged with Chuck E. Cheese's in a restructuring event called Concept Unification. This deal involved the animatronics from the Rock of Fire Explosion to be reskinned and fitted with outfits of the characters from Chuck E. Cheese's. The reason behind this being the creator and the inventor of the Rock of Fire animatronics, Aaron Fetcher, refused to hand over the rights of his characters to Chuck E. Cheese's. Some fans have even pointed out that Aaron Fetcher himself was the inspiration for William Afton. To add fuel to the fire, the game's creator Scott Cawthon has been reported to have met Fetcher sometime while he was actively developing the FNAF games. Let's just hope that he isn't anything like the character he inspired. Or is he? Now that we've talked about places that have a strong resemblance to the game's settings, let's take a look at cases where we actually get to see animatronics somehow malfunction because of potentially paranormal reasons. Look, stories about haunted places or haunted animatronics are tales as old as time. There have been several reports and recorded instances about animatronics moving about while disconnected from a power supply. There's also plenty of stories out there about establishments like Chuck E. Cheese's being haunted by supernatural forces. While there are many branches of this restaurant rumored to have paranormal activity, some reports come from San Jose, California. There were so many incidents that ghost hunters and even paranormal investigators shows visited the site just to see what all the fuss was about. So, what exactly happened? Back in the mid-70s to the early 80s, this site actually used to be a toy store called the Magic Village. According to legend, a little boy died here a long time ago. People often claim to have seen the face of a child in the windows of the third floor, even though it was closed off to the public, only allowing employees to access it for storage of supplies. There are also witnesses who claim that they've seen the boy's ghost playing arcade games, wandering the halls, and there are even some who claim they've been touched by the ghost. What's even creepier is that some employees have actually stated that they've seen some of the animatronics move on their own just before they close shop. Whether that's true or not is totally up for interpretation. If that wasn't enough to scare you, there's actually another Chuck E. Cheese's location in St. Louis, Missouri that had reports of hauntings by the ghost of a little girl who died in the very restaurant in the early 90s. Some say if you pay close attention, you can actually see her play in the ball pits or even hear her cry along the halls of the restaurant. If you've played the Five Nights at Freddy's games, you'll know that these haunted animatronics actually house the souls of dead children that William Afton murdered in cold blood. To hide the evidence of their bodies, the animatronics he created housed a special compartment specifically designed to contain bodies of children. These caused their souls to be trapped, and they basically warped the animatronics into haunted killing machines. Could it be that these hauntings are in any way related to clips and videos we see of animatronics malfunctioning? Or could they all just be a series of weird coincidences? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Ever since Five Nights at Freddy's, there's been a renewed interest in animatronics. Some people look at them fondly because of the nostalgia, often reminiscent about their childhood and how they spent their days enjoying these attractions and being entertained by their acts. This just goes to show how much of an impact Scott Cawthon's iconic franchise had on the world. While he never directly confirmed that these incidents inspired him, there are just too many similarities to ignore. These events probably influenced him or played a factor when he was developing the games. With a feature-length movie on the way and several spin-offs across games, novels, and comic books, Five Nights at Freddy's is here to stay. We're all excited to see where it goes from here. Whether they come up with a new story or take inspiration from another real-life incident, we'll all be here waiting in the dark, just like Freddy and his friends. Thanks for watching the video. We hope you found these stories just as interesting as we did. Which ones do you think actually inspired the game? Do you know of any other incidents that may have influenced the story of Five Nights at Freddy's? We'd love to hear from you, so let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button for more awesome videos like this.